when is a movie not really a movie? Okay, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1977 to take a look at an old forgotten gem that was the predecessor of some very well remembered gems. It was the one that set the tone and made this stamped imprint for what went on to be a whole genre of flicks. We'll get there. We're talking about 1977's The Kentucky Fried Movie. But before we go any further, before we dig into this gem anymore, once and again, and as always, to the trailer.
Award-winning motion picture producer Samuel L. Bronkowitz.
I have spent a lifetime in the motion picture industry. Now, after 50 years in Hollywood, I have finally produced what I feel is the finest motion picture ever made. I have called it The Kentucky Fried Movie. The Kentucky Fried Movie heralds the return to traditional values.
I'm not wearing any pants. Film at 11.
It is a film of heartfelt passion, a great love story.
Oh, take me to the drive-in, prove you love me.
It explores the subtle nuances of interpersonal relationships. Of course, there are occasional moments of comic relief. The Kentucky Fried Movie is a film that demands the greatest performances from the finest actors of the cinema.
Hey, look, Roy. Roy.
I tell you, this building is unsafe.
Cities in flames! The National Guard is powerless to deal with the situation. Governor, what are we going to do?
An anticipated 10% price hike across the board on petroleum products.
I invite every man, woman, and child to share with me the joy and warmth of the Kentucky Fried Movie. It will knock your socks off.
Okay, this motion picture was directed by John Landis. That name should jump out at you because he's done some really big shit. We're talking about he did Animal House. He did The Blues Brothers. He did Coming to America and Trading Places and An American Werewolf in London and Spies Like Us and Innocent Blood and a favorite of mine, a little flick called Schlock that you can find floating around out there. Whatever. And he also directed the infamous, groundbreaking, set the world on fire Thriller video with Michael Jackson. Remember that, folks? Everybody would sit there and watch it every hour on the hour. And it was like 17 minutes long or something. It just is the way it was. Okay, this is kind of weird because there's no real stars to this motion picture. You'll get why when we get there in a minute. But there's a lot of people that pop up. I mean, a lot of famous names. You'll see them come in and go out. They have little teeny bit parts. They're there for a minute and they're gone. I mean, you're talking about people like Bill Bixby, who we all know you don't ever want to see him angry. And Donald Sutherland from classics like, you know, Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Kelly's Heroes. And Tony Dow, come on, man, fucking little fucking yacht. You remember that fucking TV show, Beaver Beaver. And you're talking Ushi Digard from all the classic, well, we better just let that go. And George Lazenby, man, come on, one of the James Bonds. And Harry Gibson, who was in tons and tons and tons and tons of shit back in the day. And Barry Dennen. And you have Bong Soo Han, who was like this Hapkido master for all of us, like, martial arts nerds. But if there is a star to this motion picture, if there is anybody who just jumps out as the person that you're going to remember the most from this motion picture, is somebody named Evan C. Kim. Did he have a huge career? No. But you're always going to remember him from this. And you're probably also going to remember him that he was in, you know, The Deadpool as Harry Callahan's partner. And he was in Caveman way back in the day with Ringo Starr. He was in Baby Blue Marine, if anybody remembers that shit. And he popped up on TV, you know, V and Knight Rider and Kojak and Alien Nation. So, he didn't have a huge career. But if you're around my age and you were around back then, you remember seeing Evan C. Kemp pop up on numerous occasions. Just the way it went. Okay. I'm going to keep this to 90 seconds or less because this ain't really a story. Maybe it's a backstory. I'm just trying to fill you in on the gaps of what the hell's going on because this ain't really like a normal motion picture. You see, the Kentucky Fried Movie is a skit flick. It's just a whole bunch of little skits lined up and you check them out and you watch them. It's almost like you turned on TV one night, and it was 7 o'clock at night, and you just started seeing the news, and the news went into some commercials, and the commercials went into a little mini-movie, and then the mini-movie left and went back into an infomercial, and then that's basically what this is. That is the story of the Kentucky Fried Movie. It's just a bunch of little goofy shit all strung together, all making some kind of happenstance into a flick, and you just digest it. There's been a lot of them since then. This is like one of the first, if not the. So, it is what it is, just the way it goes. It's not really a movie. It's a collection of shorts. And I mean, some of them really short, like 90-second shorts. It's short. Okay, this is where we're going to party hard. We are at the summation already for this motion picture. Now, we have to take what makes this motion picture great into account with the times of it was. First off, this was really the launch of the Zucker and Abrams connection. You're talking Jim Abrams and David and Jerry Zucker, who went on just 2 years later, to direct, to make, completely in control of Airplane. Now, you all know Airplane. Airplane just launched a whole series of fucking shits, which really was either written by, created by, either all three of those guys, or a combination of the two guys, or one of the guys. And we're talking about stuff like, you know, fucking the Naked Gun series. We're talking about stuff like Hot Shots. We're talking Top Secret. We're talking they were even in Ruthless People. So the whole Zucker-Abrams thing launched an entire series of flicks of just that really absurd, bizarre, ridiculous. We want you to know this is a comedy. This isn't a real motion picture type movie. And everybody ate them up for a period of time. I mean, how many Naked Guns did they make? It was a TV show for a while. It was, you know, whatever. But you get the idea. Also, what makes this movie classic and special was, is it their best comedy? No, some of the jokes land a little bit flat, especially in today's climate. You're talking about all the one-liner, weird, abstract, odd type of humor that you see in this motion picture wasn't as prevalent as it is today. Just to see a newscaster giving the news and all of a sudden an arrow hits them and you're like, what the fuck? Now, today you're like, okay, I've seen that in a million psych acts or something like that. But back then, this movie was like ahead of its time, and then Airplane kind of met at the right moment and was the perfect vehicle to launch all the Hot Shots and all the fucking Naked Gun type flicks. But this one was a few more years before it, a little bit rougher around the edges. Definitely a little more hardcore R-rated. And you can't overlook the fact that you have to take this within the context of the time. These guys were trying to be shocking in 1977. Everybody, 1977 was a different time than it is now. I mean, you really had to go the fuck out of your way to offend or shock people way back then. The stuff that's going to take place in this movie when you see it is like a zillion years past anything that they would ever even think of doing right now. Actually could never get made right now. So if you watch this motion picture, keep in mind, it is politically incorrect. It's all kind of hit with, you know, sexist humor or race humor or something like that is loaded all the way through this movie. Is it meant in a degrading, bad way? No, it was during a time when we would all sit there, all of us, all me and my friends, all fucking race, creed, colors, and religions, just laugh till we fucking hurt at what we've seen in this motion picture. But by today's standards, ooh, this is the kind of motion picture that would just blow somebody's fucking mind. You take like a 17-year-old, you know, first year of college and stick them in front of this fucking thing, they're going to have a heart attack. Also, you have to look at what was in vogue at the time when you watch this motion picture. Some of the skits are fucking hilarious, but they're hilarious in ways that reflect on what was popular at the time. I mean, when they do movies, you know, little skits like a Cleopatra Schwartz, which is basically a movie trailer for a blaxploitation flick that, you know, never existed but could have existed back in the days, because those kind of movies were so huge. You know what I mean? You had all those movies like Shaft and all that kind of shit, and they were just great flicks. And this one was kind of like a send up to stuff like that. You had other segments. We're talking about stuff like, you know, That's Armageddon, making fun of all the segments of like back in the day when they used to have all these airplane movies, and, you know, the Towering Inferno movies and the Poseidon Adventure. Everything was a giant catastrophe back then, and they lampoon it, which they went on to do incredibly well with Airplane all in of itself. Airplane was like really just a 2-minute segment from this, and they blew it into a motion picture. It's not in this, but you could see that it would have been a little thing they put in here, and then all of a sudden, hey, let's just make that a whole movie and just run wild with it, because they do that with a lot of subjects in here. You're talking about, they had stuff like Catholic high school girls in trouble. I mean, just fucking ridiculous type of shit. And if there's anything you're going to remember this motion picture for, it's for a segment called A Fistful of Yen. If you don't like this motion picture, if you find this motion picture offensive and stupid and crazy and ridiculous and anything that you can't handle, skip it. Go straight to A Fistful of Yen. This is one of the greatest things that, as a bunch of young guys back in the day, we ever seen in our lives. Okay? A Fistful of Yen is basically a parody of Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. I mean, there are parts in it where they match it shot for shot. They actually had to change a few things, because in the original script and some of the things they were shooting, it was so taken from Enter the Dragon. I mean, the lines were the same. It was just insanity what they were doing, that they were going to get sued, and there was all kinds of pressure behind it. Like, well, we can't do that. It's too close to the ball, and blah, blah, blah. But when you watch this, you are watching Enter the Dragon. And they lampoon it brilliantly. One, it was kind of ballsy to do, being that this was only so many years after fucking Bruce Lee had passed away. But they really took a poke at a classic flick, but did it so well and so funny. There'd be times when you would just sit there and watch this movie just for A Fistful of Yen. And Evan Kim played it perfectly as the comedic Bruce Lee character. I mean, he nailed it. He was hilarious. And Bong Soo Han as the ultimate villain had me rolling. For a guy that ain't an actor, isn't a martial artist in real life, but he nails it, he delivers, it's fucking hilarious, and that's all you can say. Watch A Fistful of Yen, above all things. It's one of the greatest send-up tributes to a motion picture that pokes at it and makes fun of it, but in a way salutes it, and you gotta love it. Okay, everybody, like I said, you get a shot, you get it out there and check out the Kentucky Fried Movie. There was another movie back then, oh my god, it was called The Groove Tube, and that was even worse. I mean, that thing was even fucking crazier than goddamn this, and it was so weird and abstract, and Chevy Chase popped up in it. It was bizarre. But this was the one that got a little bit more notoriety, and the team that did it went on to, a few years later, just create some of the most classic legacy comedy flicks that you'll ever see. Go check out the Kentucky Fried Movie. Yes, it's offensive. Yes, the jokes are crude. Yes, it's fucking ridiculous. Yes, it's a product of its time. But yes, it's fucking funny. And back then we could all laugh at shit that was funny, no matter what, because we got the joke. Be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. See you soon. If you like the show, tell a friend. If you hate the show, tell an enemy. But above all else, no matter what, don't ever take no bullshit from nobody. See you soon.